CBR650F came into India in 2015 and at that point of time was the most affordable inline 4-cylinder motorcycle in the country. Somashekar got his 650 in March 2016 and has been touring quite prolifically ever since. Hi Somashekar, welcome to the show. The CBR650F surely is a lovely looking motorcycle. What made you choose this bike, or as they say, did the bike choose you?
Thanks for bringing me here. So I got this bike in March 2016. I was looking specifically for an inline 4 sports tourers, and at that time I wanted something more reliable, and Honda fit the bill for me. I was looking at even Kawasaki Z800, but being a naked, that wouldn't fit my bill on a touring motorcycle. And since the whole buying experience with Honda was so good that I had to zero down on this, and this fit my bill. Even today I'm very happy with it.
Now the Honda CBR650F, even though being an inline 4, is not your typical inline 4, as in the screaming high revving engine. So how has your experience been with it?
As you said, it's not a very high revving engine, definitely, but it does have a very low sound. But that makes it very easy to ride in the city and in the highway. So there is this very comfortable riding position in when you ride at even lower RPMs, and as you gradually grow over 7,000 RPM, this makes it very good to ride on the highways. And once you touch 120 or 130 kilometers per hour, that is its cruising or its touring speeds. And the engine being this soft also makes it very good around people, wouldn't bring up a lot of attention. And this is the nature of the bike, the way it is. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's not very aggressive at lower speeds. That is when you ride in the city. But on the highway, you're at your higher RPMs, and definitely, as I said, once it crosses 7,000 RPM, it's definitely very aggressive. Touching speeds, anything above 160, 170 should not be an issue at all. And this makes touring very, very nice and even enjoyable during your rides. Coming to the efficiency of the engine, in the city, this gives me about 20 kilometers per liter, and in the highway, even though you're doing at its sweet spot, I get about 22 kilometers per liter.
Right, now you just said that you use it for touring as well as your city rides. So how has your experience been in terms of handling and braking in all these varied conditions?
Yeah, handling and braking is something very excellent with this bike. Handling with respect to in the cities, it's very, very agile. For a starter, you might feel the bike is very heavy, but once you get used to it, moving along in traffic is very, very easy. And in the same way, when you go to the highways, given the weight of this bike, it stays very, very planted. And the way I've ridden even in some of the ghats, it's very, very predictable, it's very nice. Sometimes you might feel the weight when you are shifting from one corner to the other, but apart from that, it does not have any issues at all. There were some issues with the old stock tires, where the rear used to slide a bit because it was not heated up well, but once I've changed my tires to the newer ones, it's excellent. Given the ABS of the bike, the braking also is really, really good.
Okay, now let's talk about maintenance. Usually, the bigger the bike, the higher the maintenance cost. So, what are the running and service costs of this bike, and are you happy with the service and support provided by the company?
Yeah, the service part is something really good with this bike, especially being an Honda and a higher capacity one. People think you spend a lot. I have clocked about 16,000 kilometers now, owned it for almost 2 years. Got done with 4 services, and every service, my average cost has been 3,000 rupees. Apart from this is where you spend on the brakes and the tires, which depends on person to person. Approximately about 12,000 kilometers to 16,000 kilometers is where people change the brakes and their tires. That would be standard across all manufacturers, but apart from that, coming to the service cost, this is one of the most low maintenance ones. And coming to my experience with Silicon Honda, who get done my service of this bike, it's been really, really good. Never have my bike been parked in the service center for a long time. The parts were available always, and the person who gets the job that gets it done very neatly.
Alright, so finally, do you suggest any changes or modifications to make the ownership experience and the bike any better?
Yeah, definitely. This bike needs some modifications. The tires are inadequate sometimes. They're really hard. They take a lot of time to heat up. So I would suggest somebody to change the tires as soon as possible. The other thing is the stock headlights. It's inadequate for people who do night rides. I would suggest somebody to go with some LED lights to make the visibility much better. And even the wind protection, even though it's very good, but I would suggest somebody to get a touring windscreen from the aftermarket so that it makes his riding much better. Apart from that, the standard frame sliders or the engine protector or even the radiator guard, right, that would help a person in case he gets into some kind of crash.
Alright, Somashekar, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great having you here.
Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure for me also to be here and explain about the bike. I hope this actually helps a lot of people in knowing the bike much better, and it makes somebody to buy it and their buying experience being much better, and obviously it helps them with more details.
Well, the Honda CBR650F seems like quite the machine. A motorcycle with a DNA of greatness infused with a huge dose of practicality. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, do share them below. I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for all the latest reviews. Bye-bye.